Welcome to another episode of the Assisted Living Podcast. We found our co-host Lonnie. He was hiding from us. He got a little camera shy, and but we were able to find you, buddy.
Yeah, I'm glad you rescued me.
Good to have you back.
On my way back.
So today we're going to talk about, we had mentioned in one of our episodes, the Medicaid and long-term care insurance. It's a big topic. We always get constantly asked about it. So I really want to educate the audience on what long-term care is and how does it pay for assisted living facility, and what steps do you need to take in order to qualify for a waiver. So I got some questions I'm going to ask you. And before we get into that, how many long-term care insurances do you see in your communities?
We see it quite a bit. You know, I think our parents' generation, I think the long-term care insurances companies did a good job of pushing their products, selling their products, and they were, actually exceptional products. The policies that they offered back then are far superior to the ones that you get now.
Right.
So our parents, if they have long-term care policies, can truly benefit from those benefits.
Right.
Yeah.
And those are private long-term care policies that you're talking about.
Yes.
I'm talking about Medicaid.
Okay. So the Medicaid program is going strong in long-term care, and it's a great resource for people who go in who don't have long-term care policies, the private ones, and need assistance with paying for assisted living, nursing homes, and care at home as well. I mean, typically those policies are activated at home when your parent, your loved one needs a little help, and it follows you through the entire process.
Right, right. So one of the questions that I have here is, what is the biggest myths that family believe about paying for assisted living or long-term care?
The biggest myth in assisted living is that Medicare pays for assisted living. I get that all the time. Like, I have Medicare, how much does it cover?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, it doesn't cover anything.
Right.
So it's a private pay scenario. And there are some benefits that you can tap into if you qualify. Both, there's criteria, there's medical criteria, and then there's financial criteria. So the two programs that I'm most familiar with that assisted living facilities generally take, there's the Medicaid program, long-term care Medicaid program, which will help supplement your stay at a assisted living facility. And there's also a veterans program called Aid in Attendance that also will help supplement your financial costs. For the veterans Aid in Attendance, obviously you have to be a veteran or a spouse of a veteran, and that veteran has to have served during an active war. Right. So as long as you have all the paperwork and everything, you can apply. And the great thing about Aid in Attendance is once you apply, it could take a couple of months, several months, but they go retroactive. So they can go back to when you first applied and pay you a certain amount of money. For Medicaid, there's different financial and medical criteria. Obviously, you have to be appropriate for assisted living, so you need assistance with your activities of daily living. But if you're in an assisted living facility, then chances are you need the care. And financially, there's set rules that you have to meet.
So this all comes down to planning, right? At what age should we start thinking about planning? Because it's going to come, it's inevitable, right? And 20% of people that are 65 and over are going to need about 5 years or more of long-term care, right? So, if it's senior housing, home care, whatever it is, they're going to need that type of care. But I don't think people think about it until the problem arises. So at what point in your life do you start thinking about these things?
Well, it's never too early. The earlier, the better. So I teach my kids to plan for these things. So, they're not adults yet, but
I would have to be in that conversation, how that goes.
Right now, it's probably not the right time. They're teenagers. Right. But as they become adults, I most certainly will have that conversation regarding long-term care insurance, life insurance, all of those things that that you don't want to pay into,
Yeah.
but it's really necessary.
Yeah, no, the most I tell people all the time, because people always come to me and ask me for advice on this, that, financials. I tell them, listen, the most important thing I pay every month that gets paid first before my house is my life insurance policy and is my long-term disability.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I can care less of paying the rest of the
Right.
bills. I obviously pay them, but those come first.
And by the way, you don't do the long-term care policy for you.
Right.
You do it for your family.
100%.
So that the burden is not on them when you need the financial support and help.
Absolutely. All right. So, what's a realistic monthly cost for families should expect for care when it comes to assisted living?
So that varies depending on the type of facility you need and the level of care that you need. It could be anywhere from $3,000 a month up to $12,000 a month just for an individual.
Right.
That's for assisted living.
Mm-hmm.
So you have your facilities that cater to low-income residents, and those facilities, there are really good ones out there, and there's not so good ones out there. So you have to be careful with that. And then there's your higher end, your 5-star communities that have all the bells and whistles and amenities and services and concierge. And those can run you up to $12,000 a month easily.
Right. So, at 3,000, you're basically sharing a room. You don't have a private room. There's certain things that
exactly.
comes with that. Yeah.
If you're at the $3,000 threshold, then you're sharing a room with somebody. So you got to be prepared for that, and you're probably gonna lean on Medicaid services, long-term care to help you.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Lonnie, if I call you and say, hey, listen, I got a huge problem with mom. I don't know what to do with her. I know she gets Social Security. She gets about $1,000. I know she's got Medicaid. We're with FCC. We're with United. This is all I have. I don't have any extra money to pay. Can we get her, situated?
I would say, good job getting her onto the Medicaid program early. A lot of families don't do that. They wait until the emergency or they're in crisis mode. So good job getting Medicaid while that person is at home, because you can get onto the long-term care program while you're at home. And honestly, it's easier to get on during that time than if you're in an assisted living facility, and we can get into that whole thing a little bit later. But so yeah, I'd first say good job on that. And secondly, absolutely, we can find a quality facility for your mom with the financial resources that she has. And if you came to me and said, I just have $1,000 Social Security, I would say it's going to be a lot tougher.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you qualify for Medicaid?
There's financial criteria, medical criteria. Let's start with the financial criteria. For an individual, if you're an individual and you need Medicaid long-term care, you must have less than $2,000 in assets, and the income requirement is a little less than $3,000 in monthly income.
Right.
So if you have those two things, then you qualify financially. Your home is exempt. If you're a married couple, then the qualifications change a little bit. For a married couple, if both husband and wife are applying for Medicaid, then the income requirement is $3,000 or less a month.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a spouse and your husband or wife needs long-term care Medicaid or needs to be in an assisted living facility, they allow you. There's an allowance. The healthy spouse can keep about $163,000 in assets, not including the home. So again, your home is exempt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a homestead, right? So if you have second property, that's not going to be exempt. So
And I know this sounds very confusing to a lot of people that hear this for the first time.
the bottom line is, it's not a lot of. You have to spend your money down.
Right.
Like you can't have money in the bank.
Right.
If you're going for long-term care Medicaid.
But what I was going to say is that there's advisors out there that you can pay $1,300, $1,500, and they advise you on how to create the strategy
Yes.
on being able to qualify and what you need and don't need and all that stuff.
Yeah, there are attorneys that specialize in the
Yes.
Medicaid process, and there are things that you can do. There are trusts that you can set up that can help protect certain things. I'm not an attorney, so that's really not my area of expertise. But when that situation arises, I will refer the family to a Medicaid attorney.
So, what's the biggest mistake families make financially when they face this situation with a parent
They
or a
don't prepare.
grandparent?
They don't plan. It's just a preparation thing.
Do you think it's a cultural thing? Do you see it different in some cultures? Like, I feel like your culture, the Jewish culture, is very prepared for everything. No, I'm not. It's not even like a joke. But then you look at the Cuban culture, because I'm Cuban, right? We don't prepare. Like, once the problem arises, we try to figure it out. And I think sometimes it's a cultural thing more than an educational problem. Sometimes.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. I mean, I definitely, I've had facilities in Miami and I've had facilities in Broward, and yeah, I definitely saw a lot of that. There was a lot of last minute planning in the 305.
Yep. No, I've seen it my whole entire career, and I just know how we move.
Yeah.
Until the problem doesn't arise, we don't think about it, right? But I think when it comes to our healthcare, you have to strategize because it will sink not only your parent, your grandparent, but it'll sink your family.
That's right. That's right. Because ultimately, you want your family member, your loved one, your parent to be in a great place, in a comfortable place, and sometimes that will require you to come out of pocket if those things have not been set up.
Right. So you had mentioned at the beginning about private long-term care. It was a lot more fruitful back then when you would get those type of policies. Is it even worth considering today?
It's definitely worth considering. There's a lot of different products out there with life insurance and long-term care blended, and
Right.
so there are some options that can be advantageous, but they're just not as robust as they were previously. So you got to really look into the details of those policies and make sure that that you qualify once you do need the help for specific types of care. There's at-home care, assisted living, and nursing.
Yeah. So what's one thing from this episode that someone should take?
To plan, to be prepared, to think about these things, think about your parents, think about yourself. And, I always, my thing is I don't want to be a burden on my wife, on my kids.
Yep.
So I want to put them in a position to succeed.
Right.
And that's really what it's about. Nobody really wants to think about getting older. But, I'll never forget my grandfather, who lived till he was 95, 96 years old. He would tell me all the time, getting old ain't for wussies. And
Did he put it that nicely?
he said it just like that.
Just like that? Okay.
He said it just like that. And it's not an easy process to go through. So whatever you can do to make it a little bit easier, do it.
Do it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've been around. We've seen it all. I mean,
Yeah.
well, sometimes I say that and then I see something new. But there's a lot of people don't think the day's going to come, right? Or they kick the can down the road, as they say.
Yep.
And then the problem comes out of nowhere and they're like, holy crap, what do we do? Yeah, so it's tough. So, all right, we're going to wrap up this episode. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment. You can DM us on our Instagram. We'll answer any questions. I'm also on Menect, Andy Hernandez on Menect. If you want any consultation when it comes to the business side of assisted living facilities, we will be able to accommodate that. If you're looking for advice on your family member, then you can DM us and we'll try to help you through that process. So we'll see you again next week. Thank you.
Thank you.